a more physical, bigger team than maybe the perimeter shooting teams that you faced.
Right.
Just kind of matchup problems that IU posed with you.
Yeah, just their ability to have, two guys of great size and length that can both post up and shoot the ball in the perimeter. They're both really good athletes. They run the floor, they get on the glass, they're skilled, they're athletic. They have a real good connection between the two of them too. You can see some of the lobs that Renault throws where, they have, that connectivity on the interior where they pass it to each other and share the basketball. But, they're not their only two guys, but just kind of that 1-2 punch on the front line is pretty impressive.
Coach, how would you describe this rivalry? A guy who's coached in it so many times and played in it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's pretty special to be able to be a part of it for close to 25 years. But it's difficult, like from a competitive standpoint. Like it's hard. They've had some really good teams. The environment that they have in Assembly Hall is very imposing. We've had some success. We've had struggles. We've been a little bit of everywhere in terms of the numbers there and playing at Indiana. But you still have to play better than them, more than anything. They've played better than us here in the last couple years. They've made more plays than us. They've been tougher than us. They forced turnovers. So they've had the upper hand on us the last couple years. And so, but it's still one of those things that, you cherish. It's not something that's going to just, continue to happen forever.
They've struggled a bit from three, but I'm sure you respect them as a three-point shooting team, right?
Yeah, they seem to struggle from three, but they don't struggle from three against us. I don't know if that's a positive for them or a negative for us, but it seems that, they do a great job of competing and getting up for this game, but they've also made plays in this game. So you have to give them credit. They've had guys make some tough shots and at times open threes because we're trying to scheme to stop their front line or stop Trace Jackson Davis or, whoever the, quality players are at the time. But, we just got to do a better job of keeping them out of the paint and breaking rhythm more than anything. But sometimes when you have big-time players and you overdo some things and give them a little bit more attention, those guys are going to make you pay.
You have so many guys on your roster from Indiana. They've grown up with this rivalry. Does that make a difference in this situation?
I think it probably makes a little bit of a difference, not in terms of the outcome, but just in terms of like a kind of what it means. For someone who's in their freshman or sophomore year and they're not from the state of Indiana, I think it takes a couple, year or two to kind of realize how competitive it is and, how hard it is and like both teams want to win. Obviously both fan bases want to win. And I think that's a key push once you walk into Mackey Arena or Assembly Hall and you hear the noise when those games go on.
You pumped the crowd noise in today. Is that something you did last year?
Something we've done for 20 years. Yeah, so I don't know any other way to try to get them to understand that, like at times when you're calling out ball screens left, right, switch, whatever, that you're not going to hear it. You got to be able to keep playing and still do your job. And if something breaks down, you got to help each other's teammates with your actions, sometimes not your words. And that's hard because a big part of basketball is the communication.
Mbakwe is a really big, versatile wing.
Yes.
Is he a kind of player that makes you almost, do you need to throw another big size at him? Or do you change your rotation at all in that capacity?
Not really, just, you try to break his rhythm. Like, he's a rhythm shooter. He's a guy that can catch and shoot. He's shown, as he's gotten more acclimated to college basketball, that his decision-making is much better, especially when he puts the ball on the floor. He's the top 15 player in the country. I mean, it speaks for itself. He's a very talented. He's got good physical ability. He's got a good skill level. Now his decision-making is better. His defense is better. That's where he struggled, the first 5, 6, 7 games of the year. It cost him minutes because he wasn't ready to defend, and now he's doing a much better job. He's on his line, he's aware, he knows what's going on, he knows what Mike wants. At least it looks that way, right? For a young guy, it's hard. It's always hard, but you got to have that kind of a talent and that kind of skill in the game. So as a coaching staff, they look like they've gotten that figured out, and he's really made progress in that area.
How's Galloway improved over the time he's been there? He's become a big-time player for him this year.
Yeah, I recruited him really hard. I spent a lot of time recruiting him and was a big fan of his, and not just as a player, but as a person. He's about winning. He makes a lot of winning plays. He's very competitive. When he gets it going, like you look at the Kansas game and how he played, he was an all-conference player in that game. But he can affect the game, with his defense, his ability to get steals, his awareness. He knows what's going on out there, and so just a good two-way player. You got to try your best to keep him from going downhill on you and not get rhythm shots.
Woodson kind of gets a rap as an old school coach.
Mm-hmm.
What does he do just to fit that roster that he has?
Well, I think some of the things that he's done a really good job of, like, they do a lot of really good things defensively and how they set their defense, their foundation of their defense through their help. They really build in their help and do a good job. Now, it really helps if you got guys on the ball that can contain the dribble. You can't live in help. You got to help here and there, but you just can't help all the time. But from a defensive standpoint, I think they're not, if I got myself correct on this, I think they're number one in defensive efficiency in conference games only. And that's where I think it starts. Like, if you can have a good defense, even when, offensively, as we all know, sometimes shots don't go in. Now you can go on the road and steal that victory like they did at Michigan because you got a good front line, you got a good defensive foundation. But no, they run good stuff. They do different things, and he's tweaked a lot of stuff because he's a little different now with Renault and Ware. Just not just one of those guys like Trace Jackson Davis. Race Thompson did a great job of complimenting him, but Khalil Ware causes some real issues with his length and his shot-making ability. But no, Mike runs good stuff offensively, and like I said, they've been really good on the defensive end.
What's your best memory of this rivalry in Assembly Hall?
Probably my first one, and I didn't play, which probably helped us win. No, that wasn't a joke. But we were down 18 at half, 17 at half, and we came back and forced it into overtime, and then we were able to win in overtime. And Coach Knight always didn't guard like a guy or two. That's kind of like, and I do the same thing. It's kind of his version of a zone, right? But no, they left a couple of our guys open. A guy off the bench, and probably our fourth or fifth starter left him open. They made a couple key shots, and we were able to pull out the win. But getting back to Mackey Arena, so it's my first, experience of that. And then we couldn't get off the bus because the students were shaking the bus, which was a little scary, but it was, when you're 19, that's a good moment, right? So, but then, no, that just kind of, we were able to beat them, very luckily beat them twice. They were real young and good, and they were 8 and 10 that year in the Big Ten. And then obviously they were dominant the next 3 years. If you go back and look at 91, 92, and 93, they were really good.
What's it like being a young kid walking into Assembly Hall like that, wearing Purdue colors?
Yeah, well, I'd played pickup there before, and I'd played in games there before in AAU. So, you had been there, but you hadn't been there in that environment. And so, I was glad I didn't play because it wouldn't have been good for us. But, no, it's, they were just so good in those next 3 years. It was very, very tough. We didn't win those next 3 years. We won, I think, once at home at that time. We swept in my first year. But no, it's just like going. That's why I always tell everybody, you can talk about those other leagues, but the environments in the Big Ten are big time. It's a little surreal walking in there as the head coach at Purdue.
Touching on that, Smith and Lawyer, it'll be their second game there then.
Yeah.
Are you way more prepared the second time now that they've seen it once?
Yeah, they've been in a lot of big time games. If you look at what they've done, in non-conference and just, winning the league last year and playing in those venues, and everything's a learning experience. Even going this year, we're 1 and 2 on the road. So we got to play better. We got to play better. We didn't play very well at Nebraska, and then defensively we weren't very good at Northwestern. I thought we did a better job against Maryland at the time, but we got to, be ready to play. Both those guys are good players. They've been, through it. They've had a lot of experiences, even as young players. So, we expect them to play great.
Could you describe Will Berg's acclimation to the team, coming from Sweden a couple years ago?
Yeah, he's been really good, to be frank with you. He missed 4 to 5 months last year with bone spurs, and so that slowed him down a little bit. He goes against Zach every day, and that's really helped him. But he's got a great attitude. He's physically gotten better. His skill level's better, just across the board. He just keeps working, and it's very frustrating because, obviously Zebo goes to the league. He's going to have a chance to play, and now he doesn't, and now he's not in that position. But yet, he doesn't drop his head. He doesn't use that as an excuse. He just keeps working every single day, and he's going to help us win some basketball games. There's no question about that.